Greetings, everyone. Tim Anderson here, aka Renfill, and welcome to the latest episode of Monday Musings, which I'm surprised I haven't really been paying attention to the numbers, and today is episode 30, uh, which means we've come quite a ways. Which means I started these, I guess, late last year, um, and now we're into middle of 2021. I'm recording this on August 1st, but this is, of course, releasing August 2nd. I have lots of. Chris and I were just talking. We had some really delicious food the other day, but it was really greasy, and I look like I'm a teenager I'm breaking out everywhere. Worth it. So worth it. Sometimes you just gotta have nice, nasty, greasy food to just make you feel alive. It was worth it. They were homemade chilaquiles with lots of cheese and oh, that's what it was. It was the cheese. Not just that. It was the cheese, sour cream. They're fried in oil. It was a big greasy breakfast. So good though. If you've never had chilaquiles, it's a Mexican dish. They're really good. I'll let you look it up. Just look it up. There's chilaquiles with salsa verde, chilaquiles with salsa roja. You can have them with eggs, with chicken, with arrachera, or just with eggs or without eggs. What do they? Did they do any? Oh, did they do chilaquiles with chorizo or not? No, just arrachera, pollo, huevos, ¿qué más? Solo eso. Okay. We don't do them more than once, probably once a month, sometimes twice a month, but usually on a Saturday or Sunday. Anyway, let's dive into today's episode. This is where I ramble about things like breakfast and breaking out like my teenager. First thing I want to talk about, and I did briefly mention this last week because I watched the show, but I've seen people having ridiculous reactions, and I'm going to address it right off the bat. Masters of the Universe is not a He-Man show. The name of this show is not He-Man and the Masters of the Universe like the original shows were. This is literally called Masters of the Universe. He-Man is not even in the fucking title. Therefore, this is not a He-Man show. I've seen a lot of people who've been upset that He-Man isn't a bigger presence in this show. Um, and I get that, I do, but at the same time, understand that this is not a He-Man. Like the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes make me laugh. Like people are just like, this is a lesbian Tila show. It's whatever, whatever. I loved it. It's great. I can't wait for the second half. But again, it's not He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. It's just Masters of the Universe, which means it includes the entire cast of characters. And as we've seen, they're doing things with the characters that are a lot different than things that were done before because this is not a recreation of. This is a continuation of, in the spirit of the original toy lore and the original series that Mattel put together in the early 80s. So again, it's not He-Man, it's Masters of the Universe. Just want to clear that up. Jungle Cruise. If you have not watched Jungle Cruise yet, you totally should. This is a great family movie, a new film from Disney. Um, I like Dwayne The Rock Johnson, so I watch pretty much everything he puts out. Uh, it was great. And, it's not just, let me look here. It's not just your typical action film. Oh, Jack Whitehall, that's what I was thinking of. So Jack Whitehall makes an appearance. He's a pretty funny British comedian who I watch a lot of on YouTube and elsewhere. And Emily Blunt, who shows up in like everything now, she's just been dominating the last 10 years or so. Um, all in all, really good movie. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm just going to say if you haven't watched Jungle Cruise yet, you should watch Jungle Cruise. There were some aspects like when I first started watching it, Chris and I were on the couch. We were both like, "Hey, this has a lot of like the Mummy vibes." Like in the beginning, it's kind of starts off and has that feeling. And you get into it. There was a plot twist towards the end that I was not expecting. Like three-quarters of the way through the film, and you're like, "Oh, okay, it does make sense once it's revealed." Um, Really good. This is another Disney film that is based off of one of their classic rides, and you definitely get that feel. Like, you know how Pirates of the Caribbean was also based off one of their rides, and there's some stuff that happens like midway through Pirates of the Caribbean, and you'll see the similarities if you're familiar with that. So it's nice to see them doing another one of their classic rides and turning it into a film. Now, whether or not they make this into a franchise, I don't know if they're going to attempt to do that or not. But it was a very fun movie. Highly recommend it if you haven't watched it yet. I'd give it a good 8 or 9 out of 10. Like, it was just a good popcorn movie. Like, we were entertained the whole time. Thumbs up. Speaking of watching things, I have only ever watched episodes here and there, and I don't have the time to sit through and watch them all because there's hundreds of them. But because I am in the middle of prepping for tabletop, and I haven't DM'd in probably 2015 or 16 was the last time I DM'd. It's been a while. It's been a minute. Um, so I wanted to get back into that and just I know that Critical Role is one of those shows that gets a lot of people excited and it's very well done in the sense that they're all voice actors, so it's a lot of fun to watch. So I actually sat down and watched the first episode of Critical Role when it was all the way back in 2015 from when it was on Geek and Sundry, and like the audio quality is bad, the video they were obviously just getting going. It was very raw. The audio and video wasn't stylized yet. They were still in the early days, but it's just still so good to see a good storyteller at work with Matt Mercer, and then just people having fun role playing and everything else. So we're gonna see. We've got I think like half the people are going to be using webcams. We've got a couple of people who aren't going to be using webcams. We do have six, as of the moment, we have six adventurers who are going to be joining us on August 4th, which is just a couple of days away. My wife was debating joining. However, given the technical requirements of Roll20 and the fact that she has never played a tabletop before, she decided that since we have six people, she's just going to sit this one out and instead she's going to be watching, maybe participating with me, like with me on camera at some point. But what she's going to be doing is just learning and watching and seeing how we do things and getting used to dice rolls and all these other things and trying to get herself up to speed on the technical aspects because again this is the play test. So we're not actually, we're still using the placeholder name, Project Dramond. We're not using the official brand name yet. This is meant to test the way that I want to create this first um, module. And I just want to get my feet wet with doing something on Roll20 with these people and everything else. Once I go away from this and I then fully create that first campaign module, the idea is that we will come back at a later date and do a polished version of this using the brand name with everybody um, on camera, not just a handful of people. And we'll see if we can make that a regular thing once we have the brand name out and use that as sort of a marketing tool. And also, once I've got that first campaign module and the source book, everything ready to go, we want to get those officially up on like Foundry BTT and Roll20. There's things that we have to do to get all that ready. So work in progress. But she's going to be learning, and she will be joining the official cast when we start doing it for real later on down the pipeline when it's using the official brand name. But in the meantime, she's going to be here every session, either sitting with me or watching from the couch. But she is keen on learning how to do it, also because her art is showing up throughout the source book and everything else. Um, so I was watching Critical Role to get back up to speed on things. I'm looking forward to Wednesday night. Game wise, I played two games. Well, I already mentioned this last week. So I'm playing Red Dead Online in the morning hours, sometimes in the afternoon, but really it's my morning cup of coffee thing. I'm really having fun with the trader. I have two roles that I do. I do the trader and the bounty hunter. I'm only like level 3 with the bounty hunter because I don't do it very often. I'm like level 15 with the trader. The trader is basically you go out and you hunt and skin and trap animals and turn those in and make coins that way. Got my hunting wagon the other day, and that's been a nice, it's usually an hour in the morning, more or less, an hour and a half. I just get up in the morning. It's the first thing I do. I literally go get the water going, get the kettle going for the water, sit down on the couch, load it up, and I just play, have my breakfast, drink my coffee. Chris gets up, and then we usually go for a run. And then when I get back, I get into my day job work and then Project Dramond stuff. But I am having a lot of fun with Red Dead Online. Um, I'm gonna do a review for it, which I had never done before. I'm gonna do a review for Red Dead Online. I already recorded the footage a couple mornings ago, so sometime this week I'm gonna do that. I also, it's the first game I've played that I've gotten from the Epic Store. So I get a lot of free games from the Epic Store. You get one every week, sometimes more. Um, it's called the Offworld Trading Company, and it's like a RTS, but it's way more than just your typical let's build buildings and harvest resources and defend from attacks. There's all that going on, but then there's all this complexity with the cost of goods and needing to buy and sell those goods, and then you have the stock in your company and the stock in your rival's company, and so you have to be paying attention to all these things because if your credit rating starts to go down too low and somebody comes in and starts buying up all your stock, they can buy you out and you become a subsidiary of your enemy, and at which point the game is over. So, it's there's a lot more going on, and it's much more than just, taking over and destroying someone's base or taking over an area and all its resources. It's extremely complex. And it's one of those freebies I got from the Epic Store. I started playing it the other day and was like, this is actually quite complex and fun. So I'm going to be doing a review about that in the next week or two as well, so stay tuned for that. Um, let's see here. Excuse me. Trying to get caught up on all the Marvel shows. Watched, Chris decided she wants to watch them with me after watching Black Widow. So we're going to be going through probably starting next week because today we're actually going to work. Today we're going to watch Fast and Furious 9, I believe. I think that's the one we're watching today. I'm not sure. Um, but I think next week we're going to start watching WandaVision together and then go into the Falcon and the Winter Soldier and then go from there right into Loki, um, and get caught up on all the Marvel shows. Because they have the next round of Marvel movies coming out this fall with brand new characters like was it Shanghai or whatever, Shangri-La, I forget what it's called. There's also the new G.I. Joe movie coming out, which looks pretty awesome. Snake Eyes. It looks fun. Um, let's talk Project Dramond stuff for a minute. So logo wise, Chris wrapped up last week, beginning of the week, got the logo finished for the company. Um, and then this past week, was working on logo concepts for the brand. Excuse me. Um, and I jumped in and did a version of it yesterday. Took about 6 hours and put something together. So we're putting together a bunch of proofs of concept right now. And then sometime, I believe this week, if not towards the end of this week, um, that we're in, we're going to be getting with my brother and looking at 4 or 5 different proofs of concept and deciding which direction we want to pursue. Once we have a better idea of that, we're going to start to share some of that stuff with our patrons over in the private section of Discord, for subscribers. So that's coming down the pipeline. The idea is that we're going to try to have all this ready to go and finalized so that we can do the reveal in September. We're not worried about it for August. We're not in a rush for any of this stuff. Um, yeah, but it's working, coming down the pipeline in process. Um, Tabletop prep has been my big thing, which I mentioned earlier, watching the episode, but also getting back up to speed with Roll20. My brother and I had a 3-hour test session this past Wednesday, right after our stand-up update, and they've added a ton of new features to Roll20 from when I played it last. They've also got this like automatic character roller for 5th edition character sheets. I don't even own the Roll20 version of the Player's Handbook, and I'm not going to spend $30 just to get it, considering this is a one-off session. Um, But there's lots of cool stuff that they've done now with the automation of rolls and just being able to click something and have it roll for you instead of needing to type things out. And it's so cool what they've done with the Switch, and the modifications that they've done since the last time. Like it's been 6 years, maybe seven. Yeah, it's been 6 years, I think, 5 or 6 years since I touched Roll 20. So it's really cool. So that's just been lots of prep. I had to redo my map sizes because all the 8K maps that I made were way too big file sizes. I didn't know about the size limitation in terms of megabytes, not dimensions, but the megabyte size. And even with the Pro account, you can still only do 10 megs per image. So I had to go through and resize a bunch of my maps, and in the process, I just went ahead and made a bunch of what I guess would be called VTT friendly maps. I'm still not intimately familiar with all this stuff, but I'm getting up to speed now that I'm getting into the virtual stuff. Um, so I had to do a lot of prep this week, getting maps redone, not redone, but just resized and everything else. And then obviously setting up. That was basically Thursday, Friday, and into Saturday was getting the first campaign all set up in Roll20 so that all the NPCs are created, all the maps are uploaded that I'm going to need, and then of course getting everybody set up so that they have their generic default characters that they can go in. And then once we start playing on Wednesday night, the 4th at 8:30, we're actually going to be going through and rolling characters and doing all that together as a group because there are some caveats. Even though we are kind of using 5th edition as a general, it's not really. This first play session is not going to be exactly 5th edition. It's more along the lines of we're using 5th edition base rules, but we're playing very loosey goosey, and it's I'm not using advantage disadvantage rolls or any of that stuff. We're just doing simple d20s with some d6s in there for flavor. So it's not going to be. We're not trying to be rule fanatics. It's going to be, we're not crunching numbers or any of that stuff. It's just going to be going in and having fun. And mostly it's about making sure that the story comes across the way I want and having these players, figure out what options they want, and then we're going to be taking feedback at the end of each episode and thinking about ways that I can maybe tweak the campaign to make it better. And of course, at the end of all of this, then having a nice coherent story to write out and have this go along with the chapters that are being published on the serialization of the novel over on Patreon, and then taking it away and putting the NPCs into the campaign modules so that these people are immortalized forever. Um, yeah, it's a lot of fun stuff, but I've just had to do a lot of prep for Roll20. Um, and we're gonna see how it goes Wednesday night. I also had to set up a dummy account for streaming because I didn't think about that before I got set up, and I had to follow some tutorials, and I think I got it all squared away. But yeah, I don't want to be streaming from my master account, from the DM account, because you can see all the maps and all the secret stuff behind the scenes, and I don't, you don't want people to see behind the DM screen. So I had to set up a dummy account, which I'll be testing that live next Wednesday, but it worked through tests. So hopefully it works when I'm doing it live. But yeah, it's all looking good. And I'm glad we got the 6 people we got. Um, Looking forward to it. I know a lot of people want to be playing physically, but you still, COVID restrictions and everything else, and it's not safe for some people in some places. So still better to do things remote if you can. So we're going to be continuing that adventure. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy. This is going to be a shorter episode today. We're less than 20 minutes in right now, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up and move on to other stuff. Don't forget, we're still on pause with Mondays and MMORPGs, maybe coming back to that in September-ish. I'm going to be waiting until after I get more play testing, and then we're going to look at that. Um, I guess before we wrap up, adventure game progress is going pretty well. If you haven't watched the update from Sunday, um, got some cool new stuff in there with some new UI elements and also testing camera angles during dialogue scenes. Joey's working on a rudimentary quest system um, to see if he can get things working the way we want. Otherwise, we may have to just think about creative ways to use text dialogue. Um, because we don't want it to be so complex. It's supposed to be excuse me, basic point and click adventure game, not a complex RPG. And we found ourselves starting to put complex RPG elements into it. And so it was a situation where Joey said, "Well, let me see if I can make this work. If I can, great. If not, let's just step back to where we came from and have it remain a point and click adventure game as opposed to starting to add RPG elements into it because the RPG elements are cool, but it's also much more time consuming, and we're not trying to spend 4 years creating an RPG. We're trying to get a pretty rough version out by the end of the year. Um, like I said, we'd like to have it in a nice early access beta state by the end of the year, so that we have something that's launchable first of next year. Um, and if we can get everything done by the end of the year, that would be great. But some of that's going to depend on stuff that I can't talk about right now, related to investments and other things. So we'll see how all that goes. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'm going to wrap this up today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon if you haven't already done so, and consider a subscription at Patreon. It's a great way to help out. Even the lowest tier sub, $3 a month, gets people the serialized chapters of the book, and it's a great way to say thanks for all the stuff that I produce here on YouTube and that we produce collectively through our various TikToks and social media. And as we get the brand accounts spun up, we're not making any money off advertising on YouTube, so it's great to have support from people over on Patreon. To those of you who do support, thank you so much. It's very much appreciated. You've helped us purchase assets. You've helped us purchase Chris's tablet, her business chair. You helped us purchase the websites. Um, we've got all sorts of things that we could be grateful for. But those of you who are new here or following along and you want more, sign up with Patreon. There's lots of cool perks. We've done like something like 80 plus posts about Project Dramond since we started this in March 1st. So there's a whole ton of stuff that you could dig through regardless of which tier you choose to pick up. So head on over, grab a subscription, and we will see everybody on Wednesday night on the live stream. 8:30 p.m. Central is when we plan on kicking that off here on YouTube. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on Wednesday, and until next time, safe gaming.